Hey guys, welcome to Honey, We Need to Chat.
Where we believe when communication dies, bad things happen.
Here's a clip from our podcast.
Let's get chatting.
Honey, we need to chat.
Yeah, well, can I share with you a stat that's in our marriage book?
Yeah.
So this isn't even out yet, so you guys get the preview.
Yay.
Awesome. So we scored marriage satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 100. And most people actually report being quite happy. And so most scores are kind of within like the 70 to 90 range. So they're not that wide. Anyway, when there's money problems in the marriage, that affects a marriage by about 5. So you're going to see a 5-point drop on a scale of 100.
Yeah.
When you go from having sex like once a month to a couple of times a week, you improve the marriage by about 10 points. On a scale of 1 to 100. Okay, so that's how much that affects. Now
we got to say something. Those are associated. We're not saying if you have sex more, you'll have a better marriage.
Yes, it's just associated.
As we
yes,
it's associated.
There's the causation versus correlation
right.
thing that
Just
you're going on.
say that.
Yes. But when we look at housework and owning housework, when you move from doing 50% to doing 100%, you see a 30-point drop.
Wow.
Oh.
So people think sex and money are the big issues in marriage.
No.
Wow.
And actually, it's housework.
Yeah. And this is a big thing. And this is one of the things that as guys, we've just got to get over it and look at the data and do a reality check and say, truth is truth, facts are facts. And the issue is this. There's really good studies to show that over time, people's enjoyment of marriage declines. And for women, it declines a whole lot more than for men in general.
Oh.
And they've done studies. They've done time studies. What are you spending your time doing as a couple? And what they found is that over time, women are doing more and more and more work, and men are doing more and more resting.
Wow.
Wow.
And then what happens is this goes on for 10 years. It gets a little bit annoying. It goes on for 15 years. It's getting really annoying. And then all of a sudden, she left me for no good reason.
Yeah. No good reason.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, this is what happens, right?
And we want to say this isn't every couple. Like I think in our survey, half of couples are doing great.
Yes.
So it's not every couple, but it is a lot. And if it's you, it matters.
Yeah. And my point is that if you don't address this early on, you're not going to see it right away. But you can only handle unfairness and something that's really not a just division of how we do things for so long. And then it's just going to be too much. And then you can't rebuild, guys, because you've taken advantage of a situation for a really, really long time. You can't just suddenly say sorry now. Yeah. So my challenge to guys is be a partner from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not I help my wife with the housework.
Yeah.
My wife and I have a house, and so we do work in it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you don't always do the same thing, and some of you may do more of the actual traditional housework than the other person because one person's making more income or whatever. But the point is that you need to decide as a team what's fair and what you're both going to contribute, and you need to both be contributors.
Yeah. So I have literally had this conversation about 5 times in the last 2 months with friends whose partners just do not step up in the house. And we have on the podcast, we like to give a really well-rounded approach to the topics. And I recognize that a number of these people also don't know how to let their partner own different parts of whatever it is that they're navigating. So there is a balance there. It's not a matter of like, he should know that I need him to do all those stuff without me ever mentioning it. And then also without me even giving him the opportunity to do it, or I like break him down when he does try. There is a balance there.
And there's also the other side too, where it's like, all right, dude, like, do you need her to tell you?
Well, you live in a house and there's rubbish that needs to be taken out. You live in a house and you've got kids that wake up at nighttime. Yeah. There's stuff that should be just a little bit more obvious than it is. But in terms of wanting to be a team and fully agree with what you've said, working on it now so that it's not 10 years down the track when it's a massive divide between you guys. It's a massive problem to overcome. How does a wife or any partner, if they're experiencing this kind of thing, how do you approach asking someone to do more? Like, how do you approach that when they're not an invested party in that point?
Well, I think you just got to ask.
Yeah.
And you've just got to say, I am not willing to live with this if it continues in this way. You know, it is not going to continue in this way. I am not going to keep doing everything for everybody, because that is not sustainable. And we just need to be really firm about that. And there's a lot of different ways that you can figure out how to divide things up. I really like what Eve Rodsky said in her book Fair Play. I think she's got a lot of really good ideas of just owning an entire task. So because a lot of guys are like, yeah, I'll do it, just give me a list. Right? Just give me a list and I'll work through the list. But the problem is, as soon as you say that, she still has to be the one.
It's still the mental load.
Who is figuring out what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, who is keeping track of when's the last time we changed the furnace filter, when does the dry cleaning need to be picked up, what snack do we need to take to the kids' sports practice, whatever. So if you can just each own different spheres, so maybe he does the entire sports practice. So he manages the calendar, he manages the fundraisers that there always are, he manages whatever snacks. If practice uniforms have to be cleaned, he cleans them. He does the carpooling. He does everything. So she never does that.
Thing. Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of times we think, well, taking Johnny to soccer practice just means putting Johnny in the car and driving him. But it's more than that.
Absolutely.
You know? So maybe he owns all of that, and maybe he owns like all the laundry or something. Well, you know, she does the dishes or cooks or whatever, but just own different spheres so that she doesn't need to give you a list, because she has the ability to just completely forget about that. You know, she doesn't have to think about soccer at all.
And this is one of the things that we found is there are a lot of studies that show that men who do more work around the house tend to have better sex lives with their partners. But it's the exact opposite of the I'm doing the dishes so I'll get some
to have sex.
It's the exact opposite of that. It's they're engaged partners who are committed to the relationship, and guess what? Their wives find that sexy, right? Because that's like having a partner is sexy. It really is, even for guys too, right? You know, and I think that's so important. One of the things I would think is to start with these particular women, if they're talking with their partner, is to say, do we not agree that we should both work on this relationship and we should both have the same amount of downtime? Because if we've had dinner that I've made, and then I'm cleaning up the dishes and putting everything in the dishwasher and wiping the tables off while you go watch TV, you know, that's not fair. Like, I'm still working and you're on relax mode now, right? So you know, you're not going to always have like one. You might both work out of the home. Only one of you may work out of the home. There's all kinds of different ways to navigate it. Who's doing what? But at the end of the day, we both should have the same amount of time to relax. And if you've got a lot of time to relax and I don't, that's not fair, and that's not going to bode well for our relationship long term. And I think sometimes guys need a little bit of a shakeup to realize that. And as I said earlier, better now than years from now.
And sometimes it's flipped. You know, we found that there are men who do the vast majority of stuff. I think it's like 5 times more often it's women, but there are men who do as well. And so whichever it is in your relationship, the point is that we all need to be contributing partners.